If you clicked on this video and haven't watched ReZero, I highly recommend you stop this video and go watch it. No, go watch it and then watch the season 2 premiere, then come back. As for the rest of you, welcome back to the magically unforgiving world of ReZero. As most of you already know, ReZero is an isekai, and as with most isekai worlds, they tend to run on some video game mechanics, which the protagonist is able to access upon arrival and eventually master. ReZero only has one, and it happens to be at the foundation of what makes a video game a video game. I'm talking about the respawn. This is what allows you to keep playing a video game over and over without any real fear of consequence, aside from some minor frustrations. If anything truly bad were ever to happen, you could just load up your last save point. So what happens when that one core mechanic fails you? The Season 2 premiere of ReZero kicked off with a shocking revelation that Rem didn't make it back to the capital city in one piece. Both her name and memories were eaten, leaving her comatose with no hope of coming back. Given that no one can remember her, the one shouldering all the grief is Subaru. After having just unlocked what looked like to be his happy ending, he's thrown back into the cycle of despair. However, the most heartbreaking part about it is that he can't go back to fix it this time. After he desperately tries to return by death, it only brings him back mere seconds before the moment he first found out. Throughout the show, the return by death ability has proven to be both a saving grace as well as the root of Subaru's suffering. The Season 2 premiere might have completely changed the way we should have been thinking about return by death from the very beginning. But before we can get there, we need to understand the huge role it's played in defining Subaru's journey, specifically in how it's helped build his character, given birth to his despair, and finally determined the stipulations for his success. The main benefit of the respawn cycle is how much it's built Subaru's character and made him grow into a better person. From the beginning, Subaru is presented to us as a character lacking in self-confidence and ambition. The first episode actually emphasizes many of these details. When we first see him, he's in a convenience store late at night, getting a quick bite to eat, indicating he doesn't cook or pay much attention to his needs until he has to. He's wearing a tracksuit, which isn't the most flattering attire, but it's easy to move in and quick to put on, especially if all you're doing is going on a food run. Then, as he's leaving, he basically lets us know that he's a shut-in who spends all his day gaming. The cruel part is that right after this, he's transported to another world just as he is, same stats, same abilities, even the same gear. After arriving in this new world, the show continues to give us more hints to Subaru's bad character traits. When looking at his lack of gear, Subaru says he deserves to be spoon-fed more because he's part of the entitled generation. Shortly after meeting Amelia, she remarks how Subaru's hands are slender and smooth like a person that comes from a good family, which pretty much means he hasn't had to work hard a day in his life. Later, Amelia pegs Subaru as the type that wastes his whole life away after he suggests they do a bunch of good deeds now to make up for not doing anything later. And when he finally figures out his return by death power in the final loop of the first arc, he makes this self-deprecating comment.
せっかくのタイムリープ能力なのに死ななきゃ発動しないって負け犬前提がいかにも俺らしい。
Subaru is aware of his own shortcomings, but he's not motivated to work on them. The only thing he's motivated to do is to save the people who helped him, and it's his very desire that traps him in a seemingly never-ending cycle, making the show feel less like an escape and more like a punishment. Punishment for what exactly? Most likely it's for the sins of his previous life. In the first two arcs, this isn't quite as apparent because Subaru is able to get away with relying on his current abilities once he gets enough information. However, it's in the third arc where his lack of ability becomes more pronounced. He's made to come face to face with his own powerlessness. And this is the point where he begins to regret not only the consequences of his actions in this world, but in the one before.
あれだけ時間があって、あれだけ自由があって、なんだってできたはずなのに、何にもやってこなかった。その結果がこれだ。その結果が今の俺だ。
Now, you might ask, why didn't Subaru just abuse Return by Death in order to explore and learn much more about the world early on? Well, that comes down to his personality. He fears pain greatly, and so he runs away from it, keeping it as a last resort. The real cruelty of the show isn't thrusting a main character into a world where he's powerless, it's pairing that main character with an ability he fears, which prevents him from ever using it to his advantage. This is the main reason why Subaru always looks like he's working on a ticking clock. He's desperate to find solutions as soon as possible. Not to mention, he only shines when he's in the thick of the moment, flying by the seat of his pants. That's why it takes him multiple tries to really get it, and it's only when he's left with no other choice. When he finally does succeed, it's when he learns to look beyond his own perspective. Slowly but surely, Subaru begins to become a more reliable character that people can put their trust in. However, the other side of this ability is the intense loneliness that it's made Subaru feel. Because while he may be succeeding, it's when things go wrong that he's brought back to the reality and isolation of his predicament. This is where all of the respawns and traumatizing experiences have taken a toll. Every time he comes back, it's right after he just died. Therefore, all of the horrifying feelings he just felt are still fresh in his head, and now he's expected to start again, to put on a front because no one else will understand. At first, it could be likened to waking up from a bad dream. It's relieving to know it wasn't real. But after a few bad loops, there's no relief, because unless he can figure something out, he knows he's bound to experience it all over again. And each time he comes back with more traumatizing reminders of his failures. This is why he's so crushed at seeing a comatose Rem, because only he knows how much he's failed her before and how much she's sacrificed herself for him. He's the only one that can shoulder that weight because no one else remembers her, and everyone's fates are literally determined by his actions. That's why when Amelia insists on sharing in his burden toward the end of the episode, he can't help but break down. It's both painful and cathartic. He cries at his own powerlessness while also feeling relieved that he doesn't have to suffer alone. This is the first time that someone has offered to lift some of the responsibility off of him. So far, he's been trapped in a hell worse than being trapped in another world. He's been trapped in his own dimension of torment, forced to silence and forced to fulfill an agenda that so far has coincided with what he's wanted, but now it's starting to deviate. What do I mean by that? Well, up until this point, Subaru's never been able to move forward unless everyone was saved. But perhaps the criteria for moving forward was never about saving everyone. What if the criteria was the route that led to his most growth and influence? Now, it might not seem that way considering how much we've had to watch Subaru struggle to get through endless loops before he could get everything right, but if we look at it from outside of his perspective, the characters in this world only know the successful Subaru, essentially the final draft. They haven't seen any of the prototypes. Therefore, aside from a few low points, they see him as this benevolent hero that comes up with the best plans. But was this purely due to Subaru's maneuvering of the respawns, or was it by design? Let's take a look. In Season 1, he died 11 times and respawned 11 times. Out of those respawns, only 4 ended up being successful and either served as the conclusion to the arc or just updating the save point. So if we look at the first arc, he saves Amelia and makes her indebted to him. He befriends the Master Swordsman Reinhard, giving him a valuable connection and leading him to meeting Felt, which sets fate in motion for the royal selection. And he's taken to Rosewall's mansion. Save point updated. At the end of Arc 2, he saves the villagers and gains the trust of the Rosewall staff, most importantly Rem's undying love and devotion, which plays a big role in his success in Arc 3. Save point updated. With Rem by his side, he's able to learn valuable information throughout his failed attempts because he's able to get much further than if he were alone. Not to mention, she helps keep his sanity in check and convinces him not to give up. This leads to his first successful respawn within Arc 3, in which he helps take down the White Whale, gaining glory and respect from Krush and her people, and ensuring himself a force to take down the witch cult and protect Amelia. The save point is updated again, leading to his last successful respawn, which happens right after he dies at the hands of Felix after being possessed by Beetlejuice. Upon his return, he befriends Julius, defeats the witch cult, and saves Amelia again. This iteration makes Subaru look like even more of a hero, and being closer with Amelia puts him at the forefront of matters with the royal selection. So if we were to apply this logic to his current circumstances, if he were able to go back and save Rem, it wouldn't do much to expand his influence aside from alleviating his conscience. That's why she's not crucial in keeping the save point from updating. Now, that might seem cold, but keep in mind who controls his return by death: the Witch of Envy. It's clear that the Witch of Envy has plans for Subaru, even though we're not quite sure what they are. So, could it be that she wants Subaru to continue amassing influence in order to help Amelia become queen, so she can take over her body once that comes to pass? It's a wild guess, and it could possibly be more intricate than that, but part of the allure of ReZero is the mystery produced by Subaru's limited perspective and being able to understand the world as well as his own circumstances. And the hardcore lesson, resilience. After almost 4 long years of waiting, I'm just excited that Season 2 is finally here, and after watching the director's cut, I've been doing everything in my power to not read the light novels. Help. Part of what I've always enjoyed about ReZero is seeing Subaru have to grapple with himself and his own shortcomings in order to find the right answer. And with this first episode, it's clear he'll be doing a lot of that for the rest of the season, considering Rem might not be back for most, if not all of it. And that's saying a lot, because without Rem in his corner, we'd still be seeing this Subaru. So now I guess the real suffering begins. Having to wait for a new episode every week. Hey guys, that's all for this video. What did you think of the Season 2 premiere? Do you think Subaru's respawn purposely failed him, or did it just simply update without any deeper meaning? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to stay tuned for more upcoming ReZero videos this season, there's that subscribe button right below the video. I also have a Discord, link is in the description, and besides that, I'm OniMaru, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Promise.